Okay. So yeah, thanks everybody for being here. Today, today we continue with this series of webinars for the early career program of SC24, and we have an awesome panel today with 5 awesome speakers. So first of all, audience, I'd like you to fulfill this form. It's just three questions. It's for to have more information about you. So it's not gonna take so long for you to do it. And yeah, we'll start. I'll introduce myself really briefly because I'm not important here. But yeah, I'm the moderator. I'm Sergio, senior researcher at Barcelona Supercomputing Center. I have a PhD in computer science. I'm working on dynamic resource management and in network offloading. And related to supercomputing conference, I served 4 years as volunteering at the student program. And also since then, I've been involved in different committees of the conference. And this year, I'm happy to be in this one with Kevin and Susan, Tina, and all that stuff. Okay, so yeah, this is I don't see many webcams connected, so please, audience, if you can, it's more nice to have you around. So within your possibilities, of course. But yeah, it's much nicer to see people around, not just to talk to some to some words on the screen. Thanks for your cooperation. Okay, so for today, we have 5 speakers. They will introduce some topics that they master, and and then at the end we will have Q&A session. So the audience, feel free to ask your doubts or your questions to them. Yeah. Okay. First of all, we have Marta Rosselló from BSc. Then we have Sheikh Gafour from NSF. Hank Childs from University of Oregon. Hal Finkel from DOE. And Bert Gebetti from Kitware. I hope I pronounce all your names good enough. If not, now it's your turn to solve it. So yeah, now you can introduce yourself better than me and just do your speech. Thanks, Marta. You're next.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Many thanks, Sergio, for the invitation. I'm happy to share with you my experience, types, and comments. So I'm working at Barcelona Supercomputing Center. I'm the project management officer coordinator. But previously, I was supporting pre-award and post-award during more or less 10 years. Now I dedicate my time in coordination, institutional projects, and also assessing ERC candidates. ERC is a very prestigious grant in Europe for researchers around the world that will do their research in Europe. And well, I studied political sciences, business, and public management. And I will focus in the proposal process. So that's why I commented to enjoy the process.
Okay, thanks, Marta. Yeah, I was thinking of if you want to introduce your topic, and we can go one per one.
Good. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we save some time and leave more time for questions, that it's the most interesting part for the audience, probably.
Okay, good.
Thanks.
Good. It's fine for me. I would like to share some slides to follow me better. I'm going. Where is here? So I called Basic Survival Kit, as we have not much time, and I will go around the idea, the funding scheme, the application, writing the proposal, and the evaluation. I probably say quite obvious things, but our experience reviewing proposals is that sometimes are not so obvious, and let's see if they help you. So yeah, first of all comes the idea, your research question. And I understand that it's a mix of inputs you receive from different places, your knowledge through conferences, publications, and this is obvious, but I think it's also important to be quite aware of your environment. What is going on? What is the future direction of your field? And sometimes it's important to read government roadmaps, strategic plans, the news, to be informed about other things that happen around you. And also I would like to highlight the networking as a great source of inspiration. So, and not even in your field, sometimes it inspires a lot to have outputs of other fields. Because as we see at least in these, in the most prestigious grants, it's important this mix of disciplines, because if not, normally you can be incremental. So the call can be that asking for something incremental, but most of the time are looking for innovative ideas, and this mix of disciplines. So for example, to adapt another framework or a methodology of another discipline to your discipline can give you an innovative approach. So we have seen, and I have realized that most of successful proposals that we have in the most prestigious grants are multidisciplinary and a mix of disciplines in any case. Then the funding scheme, it is important to understand who is giving the money, which kind of organization, and understanding why they are going not to give this money to you, and what they are looking for. If they are looking for impact, collaboration, innovative ideas, talent attraction, you need to have this in mind. For example, I can put you some examples. After the COVID crisis in Europe, where we had the recovery funds, and for example, the recovery funds, what they aim is to increase productivity in the countries, and especially, for example, in Spain, where the productivity is quite low. So if you are going to a grant that is funded by these recovery funds, you need to keep in mind that this would need to increase at certain point the productivity of the country. So you need to include this in your proposal. Or for example, if you are going to a grant of a private organization that they are seeking for reputation with this grant, they want to put this award in their websites. So your proposal, the way you adapt your abstract, the way you adapt your proposal should be taking into consideration this marketing that probably the private organization wants. So this is key, and the support offices and project management offices, grant managers can help you on that, because we used to go to webinars and to be informed about the funding schemes. And I think you can take advantage of that. Then the application. This can look quite obvious, but it's important to read very carefully all documents, all templates. We find sometimes that people are not writing what they have been asked. So in CVs, sometimes in questions, or if you read the evaluation criteria and you see the percentages of the weight of each one of the criteria, so this should be reflected in your proposal. So it's important to read them carefully and to dedicate time to this. And here, to grant managers, support officers, however, I don't know how you call them, but can help you here too. And well, and also you can, yeah, I wrote here to share your motivation with them, with us, because you can transmit your motivation to us, and we enjoy quite a lot to this journey of proposal application. Then, in terms of writing the proposal, I know it's easy sometimes to give up or to leave the writing to the last minute, and I think it's a good idea to prepare a calendar according to your deadline. Now with ChatGPT, it's really easy. I did it, and it's fantastic. You write please calendar, and here you are. So and this is something now easy to do, and you can implement using your colleagues, grant managers, that you can put appointments with them to make sure that you will follow it, and you will have review points during until the deadline. And then I think it's worth to mention that the proposals should be well defined. And what I have seen is that successful proposals have provided a very specific detail in the work plan, in the methodology, in everything. So you can see that they have in their minds how the project will progress during the next years, and you can feel this when you read it. So I think it's important to transmit that you have very well defined the execution of your project. And also it's important to transmit passion or to your personal touch, and especially now with ChatGPT or similar tools, I think will be more important until things change completely. I have to say that could happen in the next future. And then the evaluation, if it's successful, okay, fine, we go, let's celebrate it. And if not, it's a question of persistence, of try again. We have seen, well, there are statistics in ERC, this European project I commented, that resubmitted proposal have a higher probability of receiving fundings. So let's continue trying, and also I think you don't need to be stuck with certain comments of your proposals, but because then they motivate you. And it's not worth, because a different panel can say different things. So let's catch the things that will motivate you to try again and to improve your proposal. So here my talk, and many thanks for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Marta. Okay, we'll continue with Sheikh. Let me go there. Oh yeah, first of all, okay, before starting, Sheikh, You were asking before about the demographics, right? I have some results. Half of the audience answered. So these are. It's one European, 14 US based.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So yeah.
Yeah, I think. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
And do you see my slide?
No.
Okay.
We see the PowerPoint screen, but
you want
not
to introduce? Yeah, that's great.
Okay, yeah.
Hal, do you want to introduce yourself and then we...
Yeah, I'll introduce myself. I don't need the
Perfect.
slide. So, hi, my name is Sheikh Ghafoor. Currently, I'm a program director at US National Science Foundation. Those from Europe who may not know about, I'll have a couple of slides about NSF. And most of my life was on the other side. I have been in academia for 35 years as a professor of computer science, and all my life I have been chasing for funding, writing many unsuccessful and some successful proposal, participated in reviewing proposal in different US funding agency. So Martha, thanks for your talk. Also, I removed few slides which I don't want to repeat. So I will concentrate on a little bit on what NSF is, few numbers, and NSF proposal writing process, and a couple of tips on that. So I think that would be applicable to NSF proposal writing, but as well as general proposal writing. And those who don't know about NSF, you can think of about like an university, have colleges or faculties. We do have 10. Computer and information science is one of them, where I am situated, and then engineering, geoscience, math and physical science, biology. So NSF's purpose is a purely funding agency, unlike many other, like DOE has funding, but as well as research lab, things of that sort. We just do funding. And it is under Congress, and we try to fund science and engineering, advancing the frontier and producing workforce education. And within NSF, this is our college, and there are 4 departments: Office of Advanced Cyber Infrastructure, where I am situated on the top left corner. And we do work a lot with, I see Hal is here. He is at DOE. So our office and DOE Hal's office, we work together in many different things. Some numbers by NSF, we receive about 40,000 grant proposal a year. We found about 10, 11,000, but the number is kind of skewed. We have supplements and others are also considered. So success rate is about 15, 16%. Our annual budget is close to $10 billion, of which 93% actually goes to the PIs or the proposer that we disburse. So the types of program or NSF funding opportunity you can look at, which is the majority of it, if you can see my cursor on the program solicitation. Under different divisions, we have different type of program targeting certain area of science and engineering. So those are the majority of our proposal. And then time to time, we what we call dear colleague letters. These are small things that certainly we want to focus, highlight something. So these are associated with some of the programs. So you can read, okay, this year we have certain priority. So those are the things. And then there is a supplemental funding when you have an existing grant and you have a new idea related to the grant or want to try something, you can ask for additional funding up to 20% of the original funding per year. That's we call this considered as a new proposal, but this is with an existing grant. And then we have eager, which is like, it doesn't fit. You have an idea which does not fit any of the program solicitation. You have a novel idea which is high risk, high reward type of things. So you can directly write that. There is no solicitation. You can talk to a program manager and submit that. So these are the general 4 types of funding opportunity, but most of it is published program solicitation. And kind of the NSF process, generally we publish those solicitations and we usually give 90 days time for the proposer to respond. So There are some are recurring every year. We have the same solicitation or we modify it. And then you write your proposal. Then it comes to us. We call panel review. You don't need to get into the detail of this at this moment. It takes about 6 months to review your proposal, and then you get if you're successful. So the whole cycle is probably about a year. So when from the grant officer point of view, when we are providing the grant, we looked at panels. The reviewer review those panels, multiple reviewer reviews each panel, generally 4. And they advise us on the intellectual merit and the broader impact. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And specific solicitation may have specific criteria, but all NSF proposals are judged by the reviewer on intellectual merit and what's the broader impact. And they advise the program officer that these are the proposals we think is highly ranked, this can be funded. Then as a program officer, we take into account of those recommendations and our priority. We talk to our bosses and we recommend this for funding. That's the general process at NSF. And let me talk a little bit more about intellectual merit and broader impact. And I looked at the survey and see that many of you have written proposals, so you probably know about that. Basically, in terms of intellectual merit, how much it is advancing the knowledge and the understanding and benefit of the society of that particular topic that you are writing. And is it potentially transformative? And then we look at the proposal, or the reviewers look at the proposal, whether it's well-reasoned, well-organized, based on sound rational. And then how do you know when what you are doing, when to stop and is successful or not, whether you have written that into, so that we take into consideration. And then look at the team who are proposing, how qualified they are. So these are the intelligence. In addition to that, some programs, not all of them, may have a specific criteria. It may be cross-disciplinary, it can be. So you should look at that criteria. For example, I'm involved managing a program called CSSI, that Cyber Infrastructure for Scientific Sustained Innovation, where we don't look at the originality of the discipline or the computer science. It's more about developing, the research has been done, developing a tool or software infrastructure where scientists have a need to use those to advance their science. For example, a math library or something that you will be building. So that has a different solicitation specific criteria. So as a grant writer, for NSF, you should look at the intellectual merit, broader impact, as well as if you're writing to a program, if the program has solicitation specific criteria, you should look at that. And because your proposal will be reviewed based on that, how responsive your proposal to the solicitation. So I'll talk about, for the sake of time, few tips, and which is very much applicable to NSF, but I think it's in general applicable to. So first of all, I don't know who had that quote, and I had it in my slide. Know what you want to do and have a good idea. So these tips are, in my experience as a successful and unsuccessful grant writer, and now on the other side, granting proposal funding. So you have to you need to know what you want to do before you do it, right? You have to have a passion for that, and you have an idea around that. Then you need to find out, if you are coming to NSF, what's the right program? And you need to search for this seems to be fit into this program. And Martha was mentioning it, read the solicitation. As a program officer, I say, read it carefully, at least 3 times. And once you think that you know it, read it again. Because I have done these mistakes, and now on the other side, I see a lot of experienced proposals also miss something, not in the intellectual area, certain documents, certain formatting, some of those things. So read it again. Know about what are the review criteria. because you are responding to a solicitation. So you must address all of those. So intellectual merit, broader impact, or additional. So you know that very well. And at least to NSF, it's very transparent. I say, talk to a program officer. We call it program director, program manager, all are things who are in charge of actually a solicitation. Multiple program officers are sometimes, if it is a big program, in charge of a solicitation. Talk to them. How does your idea fits? So write 1-page summary or 1.5 page, send them an email. Sometimes they will not respond because they are busy, and sometimes the email is gone. So talk to them. From my experience, I would say never write a proposal. Invest 2 months of your time without talking a program officer, because sometimes it fits into the general solicitation. Maybe this year we are kind of concentrating on data, not into the software data infrastructure, because we have already funded some in the last few years. So talk to a program officer. Then these are the general things that I think Martha talked a little bit about. So clearly describe your idea. When you have an idea, how you will accomplish it, what resources you need. These are the sort of main things. And then consider who the reviewer will be. Always think about your audience. I think there was a quote, know your audience, right? That's the important. Your audience is reviewers and programs. Identify potential questions and answer them in your proposal. And these are some of the tips, I think general tips. First, remember, you are writing to the reviewer and the program director, program officers. So couple of things, if you have a collaborator, as Martha was saying, that most of the proposals we are seeing, successful proposals, are collaborative. Sometimes it is multidisciplinary. Most of the times they are multidisciplinary, especially nowadays, science is multidisciplinary. You have some computing element and other things. Make the proposal contribution clear. Don't assume that all reviewer will know the jargon and everything about your topic. And then whatever the most important part of your proposal, adequate space you should reserve for them. You have always a limitation of pages, 15 page or 10 page, whatever the solicitation says. We have seen proposal that talks about background and the challenges and need, and then space half the time on that, and then write a little bit what they want to do, and then don't explain how they are going to do it. Remember, the reviewer reviewing it, you are not there to explain. So help the reviewer. Whatever the most important thing, let them get to that. And highlight it, make a subsection so that the most important thing, reviewer can find it easily. And then once you write done with the proposal, have it proposal read by someone else, because you are so deep into the writing the proposal for 1 month. Sometimes you don't see that you have not, it's in your mind or it's written in some way. Does not come out. If you can find a reader, maybe in your discipline, exactly not in your core area, that would be good. They can give you a comment. Oh, I don't see this, or what do you mean by this? And then for NSF case, we have the abstract of all funded projects available on our website. Look at in your program, what has been funded last year, the year before, and others. You can find those abstracts, so you get an idea. And you can contact some of those PIs that would you share your proposal, because those are successful proposals. And remember, whatever you are writing is not a research paper. As academia, we are always, we are experienced in writing research paper, thesis, dissertation, but proposal is somewhat different. You are doing a sales job in a sense, right? And it's something that you will do in future. And serve on a panel. And I saw a question, maybe we're during the question and answer, how do you contact a program officer? How do you serve on a panel? That means you become a reviewer. And in NSF's case, you write a review, but we bring all the reviewer for 2 days to discuss among themselves about each proposal, because somebody says this is very good, somebody says it's not good. And they debate, and we kind of direct them and watch. So you will understand how a proposal end up to be a competitive or fundable and then non-competitive. So if you take part into the process, you will know how to write a successful proposal. And as always, like every other work, start early. And I think I will stop here.
Okay.
I
Thanks a lot,
think,
Sheikh.
okay.
Yeah, we will leave the question for the end of the session. So, okay, great. Thanks a lot. Okay, now it's turn for Hank.
Sure, good. Hey, I'm Hank. Sergio, we're a little tight on time. Is that right?
Sorry?
We're a little tight on time. Do I have that right?
Yeah, a little bit. It's,
So,
sorry.
Something that's interesting about me, I spent 14 years in the Department of Energy, 10 years at Lawrence Livermore, 4 years at Lawrence Berkeley, and then I became a professor at the University of Oregon 11 years ago. I'll just start sharing and get into it. So I had initially thought that I would write a proposal about my perspectives being inside academia and outside academia. And then like Sheikh, I saw that Barak had said, know your audience. And I think that's really what I was driving at. And I've seen it in the other panel presentations as well. So I went a little bit different. I work with a lot of our PhD students at Oregon. And so I was just putting myself in the shoes of someone who was writing their first proposal. It sounds like based on the poll, not everyone is writing their first proposal, or some have proposal writing experience. But I just wanted to, with my first slide, just stop and acknowledge this is really an intimidating thing to do, to write your first proposal. And so, for those that have, successfully become researchers by getting their PhD, I'm asking you to go back and remember what it was like when you wrote your first paper. There was a lot of things to learn. How did you message your paper? What are appropriate experiments, related work? You really hope your advisor helps you out. You have to learn LaTeX if you don't know already. What can you assume your audience knows? You start by wondering how you can possibly fill up an 8-page paper, and then at the end you wonder how you can possibly get it down to 8 pages. The process of doing a proposal has some similar elements here. And so, you learned how to do all of that to write papers. You have to learn how to do it again for doing a proposal. And it is intimidating to write your first proposal. And there's something that's significantly different, which is there are millions of successful papers available on the internet. And so you can look at those papers and model after them. There are not millions of successful proposals on the internet. And so you have to figure it out as you go. Sheikh said you should ask your colleagues for successful proposals. In my experience, that doesn't go so great, but I think that's great, and I think there should be a culture around that. And so, my advice is just to read the call for proposals over and over. When you first see it, it's this 50-page document, and it's just again, the theme of the slide is intimidating. But it's all there, and it's all there for you, and it's important to get over that anxiety and just settle in and read the CFP. There's a lot that you don't know when you write your first proposal, and the CFP is providing the coaching that you need to write a successful proposal. If you can get people to share the proposals, great. Another strategy there is to get on a team. So if you can get on a team with some great proposal writers, maybe you have a small piece of what you're supposed to do, but to watch the process, that's really a fantastic way to learn. So I'm going to go a little bolder than others. I've heard others say have a good idea, which I think is good, and so I'm leery to not want to say have the very best idea, because we can't all have the very best idea, and so I think others saying have a good idea is good, but I do think it's important that you have an idea that you are really excited about and you really think has the potential to change your field. And so we heard Sheikh say it takes 2 months to write a proposal. Yeah, it's a big investment. You want to go to battle with the things that you're really excited about. So again, thinking about folks who maybe have had a lot of experience writing papers, but not as many writing proposals, I want to ask you, have you ever had a paper that gets rejected over and over? And you read the reviews and they all complain about different problems, and it seems like they have unreasonably high standards. The problem is typically not the things that they're pointing out. The problem is they're not excited by your idea. If you have a really great idea, then all of a sudden people get very flexible on what the criteria for success is. If you have an idea that people are less excited about, then they don't want to say, I don't love your idea, but they start saying, oh, it's not this, it's not that. So my belief is reviewers are very forgiving about evaluating a proposal if they're excited about your idea, and they're more harsh if they aren't. So when I talk to my new faculty colleagues about writing an NSF career proposal, the advice I give them is that if your field had a textbook made up of 20 chapters, then your proposal, if successful, will lead to a whole new chapter. And this if successful is important. Not all research is successful, and I think that's understood by the reviewers. But you'd like it to be that what you're putting forward will change things. And I think in particular, if your textbook has your field has a textbook made up of 20 chapters, it should not be that on chapter 15, section 3, you're going to add a new paragraph. I don't think that's big enough for many of these funding opportunities. It's intimidating to think this big. I actually thought Marta had a lot of really good comments about talking with your colleagues, going to conferences, reading workshop reports. There's a lot of ways to get inspiration. I think sometimes also you have small ideas that take on steam and get bigger and bigger. You just start chatting about it with people, and then you find out that this thing that you thought was kind of interesting gets larger and larger. But the other piece of this is aim big, but you still dot the I's and cross the T's. So as we heard from Sheikh, your reviewers are going to be asked to evaluate your proposal in many ways. And you can bring an idea that's a big idea that excites the reviewers, but you have to do the things and do it well. There has to be risk mitigation strategies. There has to be a work plan put forward. There has to be the things that are in the CFP. So you can't just put forward a great idea and expect them to be so excited and squint and just say this is good. You have to do the work. You have to dot the I's and cross the T's. Again, read the CFP over and over. When you're starting the process, it's intimidating, but it's just so important to just familiarize yourself with it. We heard Sheikh say timeline. I have a collaborator. I'm not this good, but I have a collaborator. He finishes his proposals 3 weeks ahead of time and sends it out to his colleagues and asks them to review it. And he gives them 1 week, and then he has 2 weeks to improve the proposal and submit it. We should all be so good. But at the same time, if the mental model is it takes 2 months to do this, why wouldn't we do this extra 10% of effort to give ourselves maybe a 30% extra chance of getting funded? I only had one slide on inside versus outside academia. I think there's some know your audience stuff here. I feel very proud to have won a Department of Energy Early Career Award. It was really significant for me and where I went in my career. These awards are different. They're evaluated by both tenure track faculty and DOE researchers. And so you have to pass through 2 gates. One is this great research? And that's something that the tenure track faculty and the DOE researchers will really be enforcing. And the other is, will it help our stakeholders? And so this is a different call, because if you don't pass through both those gates, you're very unlikely to get funding. I know when I give talks, I often get questions about someone who was at a Department of Energy lab that went to a tenure track faculty position. I just want to say, I think it's very possible, if you do the things you're supposed to do in your current role, if you are looking for a tenure track faculty role, but you have a role that's not tenure track faculty, if you're publishing papers, if you're building reputation, and if you're winning the grant funding, you can win in your current position, then I think it's very possible to make the transition. I also want to say, for those that do, in terms of the importance of NSF funding, typically this funding is only available to tenure track faculty at U.S. universities. And so if you're not in one of those positions, it's unlikely you'll pursue it. But if you join an American university's tenure track faculty, I'd really encourage you to pursue it. There are some out there who are hyper-focused on the ability to obtain NSF funding. And so I think that even if you've come from somewhere else, when you go to a new role, you should try to win NSF funding and just show folks that you can, because for some, that's a very important criteria. How many proposals to write? I'll say, from my vantage point, now being in academia for 10 years and seeing about 10 new colleagues come through, I see them write lots of proposals, really more than I would like to write. Writing 6 or 8 proposals in a year. If we take Sheikh's 2 months comment, the math doesn't work there. Or 6 times 2 would be a full year of just nothing but writing proposals. I I think that there's, I don't want to write that many because I want to spend my time well. I want to go to battle with the ideas that I think are really going to go far. There is a value in doing that in terms of improving your skills and getting feedback. I try to be more targeted. I want to be fully aligned with the call. I don't want to try to bring some idea that I'm really excited about, but it's mismatched with the call. I want to have a great idea. And again, it's a lot of time to write a proposal. My mentor told me to try to write 4 proposals per year. I can do that if I collaborate with others. I think trying to write 4 proposals all by myself is more than I can do, and maybe more than good ideas that I have. Okay, Sergio, I stuck to the 8 minutes, so I'll go on to
That's fantastic. Thanks a lot. Okay, next speaker is Hal from DOE.
Hi, Sergio, and everyone. Thank you very much. You can hear me?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Good. I mean, in the interest of time, I actually thought I'll try and take fewer than 8 minutes. And, of course, a lot of the other presenters here, many of whom I've known for many, many years, have done, of course, the excellent job I expected in providing an overview of how to think about proposals and so on. So I'll just try and add a little bit. I'll just say I'm currently the research director for the Advanced Scientific Computing Research Program in the Office of Science and Department of Energy. And I also worked at a DOE National Laboratory. Before I joined DOE, I was there for about 10 years. And I've worked mostly on computer science in my professional life, but my educational background is in physics. When I joined DOE and started working as a program manager, of course, one of the great privileges that I had was to be able to read many more proposals than I had ever read in my life, now on a yearly basis. So I have at least that perspective. Let me I suppose I'll try to share my screen. Take just a moment. Let's see if this works. All right. All right, and I'm going to cheat a little bit here and say that what I'm going to do is show you just a couple of slides out of a longer presentation. And if you'd like the longer presentation, including a video and all that kind of stuff, you can go to our webpage on office hours where we have a number of these kind of background presentations. And this now includes one on the proposal and review process, where I walk through a number of these things. And I do want to make sure we have time for questions. So I'm mostly going to try and skip a lot of the kind of background. I will say the Office of Science is a large part of DOE. We fund research in many different areas, and computing research is only one part of them. And now I'm just going to see how quickly I can skip to some more interesting material. One thing I do want to say is that for many, at least, of our solicitations, we require what we call a pre-application or pre-proposal. And so instead of just going and writing a full proposal for a solicitation, you will start out by writing, say, a 2-page or maybe 3-page summary, something like that. The exact requirements are different in different calls, but a lot of the things that you need to think about are the same. And I just want to very quickly highlight some things that I think are important to think about as you construct these things. I'll try and be non-duplicative with the others. But one thing, of course, that I think everyone has mentioned, and I will repeat, is you have to talk about why what you're trying to do is important, and what is the scientific challenge being investigated. We are doing this in order to learn things, and so you should start out by having some kind of hypothesis that you are investigating, and your hypothesis should be something that is probably correct and plausibly wrong. And I think this is really kind of key, because we get a lot of proposals where it's not actually clear why what is being proposed is actually science. It might be a very useful development project. It might produce very useful tools. It might be very, very helpful to society, but it's not clear what we're going to learn from the activity. And it's not clear how what we're trying to learn motivated the work that's being proposed. And so you really want to think about that. You want to think about, what are the best alternative approaches? What's unique about what you're proposing, and why it's likely to succeed on the time frame that you're proposing, because that's really a key a qualifier there. And then also talk about your team and why you have the skills to be successful. You do not need to be the best in the world at some particular thing in order to propose work in that area. If that were the requirement, then we would essentially fund no research. So, but you do have to plausibly have the skills in order to execute the research that you're proposing to do. So we have to think about that. I think that is quite important. The other thing I do want to talk about just very briefly is the process of thinking about the reviewers and what questions they are being asked to answer. So if you look, for instance, at our solicitations, and I think those from other agencies are very similar, we have to list the review criteria. So, when we say, okay, reviewers are going to be asked to evaluate certain things, those things appear in the solicitation. And more specifically, in addition, there are questions that are associated with each criteria in our solicitation. So, we don't just tell you we are going to ask reviewers to think about the scientific or technical merit of your project, for instance. We also provide a list of prompt questions that the reviewers are going to be asked to think about specifically under that. And one thing I really want to encourage people to do when they think about writing a proposal is to think about, for each of these questions, how easy is it for the reviewer to figure out what answer you would like them to provide to each question. Because if it's not really, really clear what answer it is you think they should provide, then it will probably not be clear to them what answer to provide. And if you're thinking about this like, well, they're going to read the whole thing, and so they'll know what answer to choose, that is not a helpful way of looking at a proposal writing process. Because yes, they'll read your whole proposal, but they're going to read lots of things. And also, they don't understand the field and the area and what you're trying to do anywhere near as well as you do. So, the reality is that what you should think about when thinking about organizing a proposal is you should think about these questions, and you should think about being very explicit about what answer you think the reviewer should provide. Because what you really want them to do is devote their mental energy to thinking about how great your proposal is and how they're going to advocate for it on the review panel or in their reviews, and not trying to perform a fishing expedition in your proposal to answer the questions. So, and I've come to provide this as advice, I think, hopefully in as explicit way I can, because what I've seen over the years is the proposals that do very well and that the reviewers come away with saying, oh, this proposal was structured really, really well, it was very easy to read and so on, are the ones that made a very explicit mapping between the questions and what was in the content. And in fact, you could even provide summaries in the proposal because you know what the questions are going to be. They're listed in the solicitation. So you can even address them very explicitly in the proposal and with subheadings and paragraphs and so on. I really think about this because it really does make a big difference. And I'm going to stop there. So we'll go on.
Okay, thanks a lot, Hal. Okay, next speaker is Berk from Kitware. Please.
So what I learned today is that never go after this group of people. It last because they said everything I'm about to say. So I'm Berk Kiveci. I lead the scientific computing team at Kitware. I've been actually interesting, maybe for some, I've been here my entire career. So I experienced early career as well as mid-career and sort of now advanced career in the same place. And Kitware is we write a lot of proposals at Kitware and to a lot of institutions. I've been involved with proposals to pretty much every government organization you can think of, as well as to industry, as well as to subcontractors, to labs and things like that. So I'm going to try to cover things a little bit from my personal perspective rather than just kind of broadly, because that, that has been all covered so far. So I'll share my screen. So 4 quick tips. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So for me, the top one that I can tell anybody is actually propose what you're passionate about, and the corollary of that, which is cultivate passion about what you're proposing, because you don't always have the funding opportunities for what you're passionate about. And so as an example from my career, when I started, as is the case for most people, my focus was narrow. I was interested in the technology I was developing, the sort of mainly the computing and the computer science part. I knew very little about the broader science that impacted. And I partnered with people that really knew that. And so we were able to bring our own passion about something to the proposal. So for me, then it was the sort of, oh, I'm going to develop this particular thing in the visualization library that we have. And then someone helped me to map that into some scientific problem that they were excited about. And then later in my career, I'm kind of on the other side of the spectrum now. I'm less interested in a particular specific technology to develop, but I'm much more interested in solving a particular science problem. And so that's the passion that I bring. So I then work with people that are passionate about the technology. And if you can structure the proposal such that this shows, it's going to affect the reviewers. It's contagious. The reviewers are going to get excited. And also, this is the only way to make the proposal process, in my opinion, fun. And I don't like writing proposals, especially when I'm not excited about them. The second one is collaborate. Again, this has been covered a lot. I mentioned a little bit one example of that, and that is I brought, for example, my passion about technology. Somebody brought their passion about science. So collaboration makes process fun. And Marta said this, make the process fun. Otherwise, it's hard. But also collaboration makes the proposal robust. Actually, where I work, we always pair somebody senior with somebody who's writing their first few proposals, and they do pair proposal writing. And that really helps. So when I started, I would really essentially brain dump, as we called it, brain dump all my ideas. And then my partner would really take those ideas and start turning it into a good proposal. And then we would iterate back and forth. And that really helped. Also, collaborate with folks that are going to review your proposal, internal or external. And one tip is that I will give is that don't be shy about reaching out to people. If you have an idea, you don't really. So, for example, we recently did a proposal where we wanted to have a strong AI component, and I wanted to find the best people that worked at the intersection of AI and visualization. So I actually sent an email broadly within Kitware, asked if anybody knew such a person. Somebody did. They introduced me. I reached out. It was essentially cold calling, right? But they were really excited about the idea, and then they completely helped transform the proposal with their perspective. So that really is important. The third advice I have is that know your audience. This was covered, but one thing I'm going to say practical is that there's a lot of information out there. Well, first of all, about Program Manager. If you're writing a proposal and Hal is the program manager, go find what kind of things he funded, right? You can get a lot of information about their portfolio. In some cases, it may help to know their background. In some cases, it doesn't because they sometimes change roles. But also, understanding the office they're in, for example, gives you some idea about what reviewers they are likely to pick, because they're going to pick reviewers that are within medium ease reach, right? They're not going to resort to really crazy means to find some reviewers that they know they don't know. Like maybe they'll do 2-hop in their LinkedIn network, but probably not much more than that. So that kind of gives you some idea about who the reviewers are going to be. Are they going to be from a more of a computer science background, from a science background? And that really will guide your writing, because if you're a computer science person and you're writing to a science topic that are likely to have a bunch of scientists, you really need to tone your sort of jargon down on the computer science and tone up your jargon on the science side of it, because they are going to expect that you know the topic. And then finally, hone your writing. This has been covered. 2 things that I will point out is that one is that there's a page limit in proposals, obviously. It is a limit. It's not a suggestion or a requirement. I mean, it gives you some idea of the length that roughly that should be. But if you can explain what you're explaining in less than the limit, in a shorter page count than the limit, sometimes that is to your advantage, because, well, the reviewers want a certain level of detail, but beyond that, they pretty much fall asleep. And then the other one is that it's like Sheikh said, that you're doing a sales job. And when you have a sales material, you really want to capture your audience in the first 2 to 3 pages, because it really determines the amount of attention they're going to give to the topic afterwards. And then the really, if you a person that masters this needs to master all of these, and a bunch of things we did not talk about, budgets and etc. You really need to be able to balance it all to put together a strong proposal. So hopefully I'll didn't run too long.
That was perfect. Thanks a lot. Yeah, we are out of time, but I wouldn't like to close the session without some questions from the audience that probably they will have a lot, because the talks have been impressive. So okay, there is a raised hand. Yeah, just take the floor.
Oh no, I
okay.
raised the hand.
Okay.
So I have actually kept a little bit time. So I'll be here. I think others may leave. So I just wanted the audience to know that I'll be here. And I want to emphasize on 2 things, and I think that everybody, all the presenter. So Hal was talking about this criteria he was showing, and talking about the well-structured. I think this is very important, that you help the reviewer that answering those questions and do it in a structured way. Remember, the reviewer, many of you probably have been reviewer, don't know everything. Sometimes they are reviewing 5 proposals and they ultimately, whatever busyness, and it come down to last 2 days that they are reviewing all the proposal, right? And then Hank just talked about this first 1 or 2 page. That's where you capture the attention. It's an exciting idea. They will then pay attention. Otherwise, and have it read. And having some exciting idea, new idea is very important. I think many times reviewer excited, even the proposal was not that well written, well reasoned maybe, but the idea and possibility was good. And from my experience at a funding agency, program officer sometimes takes those and go back and forth and still try to do that. So I just wanted to, but that's, and I'll be here for next 20 to 30 minutes if anybody needs me.
Sheikh, there's a comment in the, there's something in the chat that I think you'd be good for you to answer. It says, how do we speak to a program director beforehand? For example, do we search for one-on-one and cold request a one-on-one meeting to discuss my potential grant? I think
so from the NSF culture, it is that you first write one page, just don't send an email on the blind, that this is my idea, I want to talk about this, and send that to program officer. We are required, and we always try to accommodate that, send it to a program officer. You find the program officer in the solicitation, generally in NSF perspective, you have the name of the relevant program officer. So send it to them. And sometimes what happens, they are busy and they don't respond. It happened to me that the email went out of the screen and I'm trying to remember, somebody sent it and I don't know how to search. So send them again. It's okay to bother them. Then we'll find time and probably will either respond by email or in many cases, our NSF program officer tried to set one-on-one Zoom meeting to give you some feedback.
How long should we wait? After 1 week, send it again?
Yeah, after 3, 4, it depends on, sometimes we see that right now the proposal is going to close in 2 days. I have seen things like that, and I know Hal have seen things like that. So try early. It's starting early always helps. Starting early is everybody is talking about that. I think starting early would help, and the collaboration is key, right? And responding to the solicitation, that's one of the key things. That's a generic to all type of funding request. That there is a thought behind the funder that they want to do this, right? And that's generally comes out in the solicitation. May not always be as explicit. So try to respond to that. That's basically it.
Okay, thanks. We have another question. Lenny, do you want to speak out?
Yes. Hi, Sejal. Thanks a lot for organizing this, and hi, Hal. Yeah. So I have a question actually for the DOE, Department of Energy folks. So I have been with the national labs, particularly Pacific Northwest National Lab, for the past few years since my PhD, my graduation. So my question is that right previously I have been involved in a few proposals, and right, so when I start writing those proposals and collaborating with those senior scientists within DOE, they always told me right to reach out to the point of contact at the lab first before reach out to the program manager. So that's really made my life right much more difficult, right? Because when I have a question, I have to reach out to the point of contact at the lab. And then most of time, because they have different expertise, they cannot give me the best answer for that. So I cannot talk to the program manager directly. So I hope somebody can, yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, I'll say something very briefly about this. I mean, and this is not necessarily all that distinct to national laboratories. I mean, many large organizations have, yeah, and I think this is less common for universities, but I mean, in other kinds of organizations, laboratories, companies, and so on, right? I mean, they have some kind of internal protocol that they want people to follow. I think that, you know, part of this is making sure that expectations are clear. And, you know, of course, you know, if there's an internal procedure, you know, that can allow certain kinds of questions to be sent directly, you know, while some coordinator is CC'd, that's, you know, that's obviously an option from our standpoint. We try very hard when we're answering questions to kind of reply to everyone who was on the question originally. So, we'll try and keep people in sync as much as we can. But yeah, I mean, certain organizations have internal procedures to be followed. And I mean, and of course, if there's a kind of DOE specific thing, obviously we can, we can follow up offline about that. But I think that the reality is that some kinds of questions are easy to answer, but we also get a lot of emails, and the labs do try, and since they have a lot of experience with us, and I think other organizations work in a similar way, they try and triage questions internally as well, just to make sure that things are in sync and can be handled in an effective fashion, so that everyone's kind of inbox can be spared when necessary. But we do want to have as much information as possible out there that's available to as many people as possible who are eligible to apply to solicitations, so everyone's on the same page. So I know it's kind of a non-answer, but hopefully it's helpful in some way.
I'll give a more direct answer, just because I think it's easier for me to do it than you to do it. I think, Lenny, if your organization is trying to put some bounds on this, I think you should be respectful of that. I know that Hal and other program managers really want to help. There are ways that you can be connecting with them at conferences or at workshops. But I think if your management's giving you some guidance, I think that you should pay attention to that guidance.
Okay, I see. Yeah, right. Thank you. Yeah. Because they always have priorities like that they want to focus on, but you have different priorities that you are interested in.
I've had a proposal not go forward because we had a collaborator at another lab, and that lab decided it wasn't one of their top 2, and it hurts. But I think that I don't think it'd be good advice for us to tell you, oh, well, you should try to go outside your management and do your own thing.
I see.
I think you need to fit in with what your management wants to do.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Thank you, Hank.
Okay, thanks. Any other question? Yeah, Marta.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about Lenny explained that I think it, well, at least it works for me when researchers come and explain with passion and explain me their ideas and the motivation and everything. As this makes you to I have to say straight forward that it puts this proposal in a priority because you share this motivation with the researcher. So I will suggest you to make participate the program manager in your research or in your idea, whatever.
Okay. Okay, I see. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, maybe okay, Sheikh, go ahead.
So I just want to add something what Hans said in his presentation. So NSF, which is very largely fund, US based, mostly from academia, we do have funding for some small business, and we don't fund people from DOE lab or FFRDC. But there are techniques. So there are things we do fund non-tenure track, like the research, that we do all the time. So there are research scientists, we do fund those. We do have funded many PIs from DOE lab. They have joint faculty appointment with one of the, they are coming from the university writing the proposal to us. So because they do have the students in the university who work with them, so we do fund quite a number of those, but they don't come as a DOE or any other federal agency. But those scientists, researchers, were actually we funded this cycle. I have funded people from Argonne, but they're associated with University of Chicago or University of Illinois Chicago as joint faculty. So their proposal are coming from. So if DOE folks are here, and if you are a joint faculty, actually you can respond to NSF call.
Okay,
you are coming through the university.
Thanks for correcting me. I was mostly speaking about.
But you are right. You are right. So if you look at 90% of our proposal, it is going to mostly the tenure track faculties and other things. But we do find scientists.
Well, you're the most right. Thanks for correcting me. You know, my thing was if you get into TTF, you should go after NSF, but I think I said it
Okay,
wrong.
that's absolutely right.
Thank you. Yeah. that's a
Okay,
good idea.
maybe a last question. I know that we are running late. It's my fault, but in 2 weeks we have the time management webinar. Maybe I will learn something.
No, it's my fault. I've been being professor for 35 years and forgot about the time, 8 minutes. I planned for 8 minutes, then went over. So I apologize to the other speaker.
Okay. So yeah, if not, yeah, we should stop here. Thanks a lot for your for your great talks and for your inspiration. There is a message there. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, thanks a lot, and I hope you to see maybe in SC. I don't know. I'll be around at least.
Thanks for
Many
Okay, thanks the
thanks, many
audience
thanks.
also.
very
I hope
impressive.
you had fun.
Great. Yeah.
Bye,
Thank you,
guys.
everyone.